Hey everybody, in today's episode, it's myself, Ben, and a gentleman by the name of Steve and his lovely dog, Mac. Steve comes on the show today to talk about his sobriety journey. He spent 30 years as a first responder here in Palm Beach County. We discuss a lot about his substance use and what it drove him to. But one of the things that we really spent a lot of time on was his transformation as far as his overall health. A lot of times people put down the drink, they put down the drug and think that everything's going to be okay. Steve, in fact, transferred that addiction into food and was literally eating himself to death. So we unpack that, what had to happen for him to finally make a conscious effort and a change to take his health back. And now he's on a journey of sobriety and overall health, and he's doing absolutely awesome. We cover all that and more. Enjoy the show. Here we are, Real Recovery Talk. I am your host, Tom Conrad. In today's episode, we've got Benjamin B.
What's happening, everyone?
And we have a gentleman by the name of Steve. Steve, how are you, sir?
I am well. Thanks for asking.
First things first, thank you for tuning in on the podcast app, whichever one that you choose to use. And thank you for watching on YouTube. In the end, if you have any comments, questions, or concerns, you could always reach us, info@realrecoverytalk.com. Again, that's info@realrecoverytalk.com. And ultimately, we want to help you turn your mess into your message, right, peeps?
Yes, sir.
Also, go to realrecoverytalk.com. On the homepage, you're going to see a little link that says schedule a call. Click that, sign up for your free, I emphasize free, Free, 10-minute free consultation call with us, and we can listen to your situation, see if we can assist you in any way. Also, go to Facebook to the Sobriety Network. You were slacking there, Ben.
No, I didn't. You threw me off there.
That's
with
okay.
Your cadence.
It's our Facebook group. You can go there. It's for anybody. If you have addiction problems or alcoholism yourself, or you're in recovery, you can go there, the Sobriety Network. If you are a friend or a family member or a loved one of somebody that has problems with substances, go to the Sobriety Network, and it's basically a platform for anybody that has been touched by addiction in any sort of capacity. Also, go to realrecoverytalk.com/guides, Guides, plural. You're going to see a catalog of guides that we have put together. We have handcrafted these things ourselves, and you can go there, put your email in, and download whichever ones that pertain to your situation. Last but not least, go to realrecoverytalk.com/services. If you would, in fact, like to have a full hour conversation with either myself, Ben, or Dr. Tambini, you can go to realrecoverytalk.com/services and sign up there. All right.
Steve, we're going to pop quiz you on all that. Ready?
Wow, man, that was
What's
a lot of
everything
information in a short period of time right there. Wow.
One of these
Impressive, Tom.
days, I'm
Impressive.
just going to record it, and that way I can just plug it in at the, in post, as they would call it, in the editing process, so I don't have to say all that stuff.
If I ever have to host again by myself because Tom's absent, I'm just going to be like, listen to the previous episode. Tom says it all.
Yeah. All right. So here we are, Steve. Thanks for coming on the show. Full transparency. First time we have met. Also, we do have Mac. Mac is with us. He's a 10-month-old today, golden doodle. Beautiful dog. Hey, Mac.
Here, puppers. Come here. Come here.
So I encourage you to go onto YouTube. Come here, buddy. Come on.
Mac's
Come
on camera.
Mac.
If you're on YouTube, check out Mac.
There he is. Beautiful dog. Mac is a therapy dog, and man, very well behaved. I have a golden doodle, and I'm scared to bring him out of the house because he does not act like this.
Yeah, I thought they were supposed to be pretty rambunctious.
So there's two ends of the spectrum. There's the rambunctious ones, and then there's Mac. And when Paws and Stripes received this dog, and Paws and Stripes is the therapy dog unit college from the Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office. They received this dog through a private rescue donor organization. They usually get all their dogs from Big Dog Ranch.
Okay.
And when they got Mac, they knew he was a special dog right from the beginning. They got him at about 6 months old. They had him for 2 months. He trained very well for about 2 months. And then they realized that he was the right dog for me and for Hanley, where I work. And I got to meet him about 2 weeks before the class started. And the training room's about this big. There are about 8 or 10 people sitting around the walls. watching what was going on with the training. And I just sat down on the floor on the wall. And when the trainer broke him and took him off leash, Mac literally turned around and ran into my lap, and he chose me because I had asked for a female in the 25 to 30 pound range, and I got a male that's 50 pounds, but I wouldn't give him up for the world, man. He's going to help a lot of people. He's just the chillest dog, something you can't train into him. He knows who needs him. If there's a room of 10 or 15 people, he'll go in and he'll greet every single person, and then eventually he'll gravitate back to somebody.
Wow.
He's really good at that. And that's not something you train into a dog.
Right.
They say some dogs are just natural empaths. Some say it has to do with the pheromones that we emit through emotions.
Yeah.
That they can actually smell fear, right? They always say, don't act like you're scared. They smell fear. Dogs can.
Yeah.
Great video out there called The Mind of a Dog. Absolutely amazing video. And another one is dogs see through their nose. If you have a dog, it's very insightful and it really helps you understand dog behavior.
Interesting. Oh, very well behaved dog.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, Ben, why don't you kick us off here, make the introduction, how you met Steve, and then we'll go from there.
So it's pretty common knowledge at this point that we've teamed up with a not-for-profit, Stoked on Life.
Love it.
Which they do surf therapy, blue mind theory, all that stuff. Basically being around water. And we've had them on the podcast before, but awesome organization. We work with them once a week, with our clients. But on occasion, they have guests out there. In this case, it was Steve. Steve, why don't you tell them where you work and what you do today? Because that really caught my attention off the rip on the beach when we met that day.
Awesome. Yeah. So I work at the Hanley Center. The Hanley Foundation has reacquired the Hanley Center as of last year. We're back to being a 501c not-for-profit.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
It's awesome. A lot of changes, all for the better.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that Hanley is doing is we are partnering with schools, colleges. We're doing studies. And one of the doctors that we brought on, Dr. Howard from FAU, is very big into the blue mind theory. She knows Allison very well. And one thing we want to do is we want to study the blue mind theory with first responders and veterans. And just like Ben was saying, blue mind theory is basically about being around a body of water for 23 minutes a day, especially when you're very highly reactive. They have that 3 types of mindset, right? High red, low red, and blue mind. So anytime you're high red or low red, your goal is to get into blue mind. So they asked me to go and check it out as one of the team members from Hanley, and I fell in love with it. I absolutely love it. But I'm a water guy.
Yeah.
When I vacation, I tend to gravitate to water for my vacation.
I should mention too, we did have Dr. Nichols, who what would you call it? The founder of Blue Mind Theory, I guess, invented it.
Yeah, he wrote the book.
Wrote the book. There
yeah.
it is. But may he rest in peace. He's passed away. But he's probably 6 months ago we had him on.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
if you're interested more about that, you could look back to our older episodes. He was
Awesome.
on with us.
Yeah, so that's how we met. We met on the beach, just hanging out in a group session. Thank you for letting me attend your group session. They had thought I was only coming for the later session, but I thought it started at 9, so I showed up at 9.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I didn't realize
and
that.
they're like, Rock Recovery's going to be here, and I'm like, okay. I said, do I need to go? No. They're really cool. You can stay.
Yeah.
And it ended up being a great group session. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of good shares, a lot of people opening up. One of the things, I think it also did was it helps people, lower that wall, lower that anxiety, being around the ocean, being able to open up, be a little bit more vulnerable. Yeah. Just like it happens with Mac, same theory.
Yeah.
The endorphins are released, the cortisol levels are going down. You feel a little bit more vulnerable and able to share, a lot more relaxed.
You mentioned too something you touched on. You're a retired firefighter.
Yes, sir.
Pardon me if I don't recall the details though. And what was your history there?
So I spent 32 years with Palm Beach County Fire Rescue. I worked in mostly my entire career the lower socioeconomical areas of Palm Beach County. I retired right out of this area, right here, the West Palm Beach area. But I've worked out in Belglade. I was down in the LW for a while. Central Palm Beach County. I was in the training and safety division for 5 years. I flew on Trauma Hawk for 5 years. I was a SWAT medic for 5 years. By the way, the FBI calls that a pattern. So I've had a lot of really cool experiences doing that work, but it took its toll on me.
Yeah. Out of curiosity, this is kind of random. I've always wondered this and want to ask a first responder. On average, like how often did you come across overdoses?
Well, there was that period in 2016, 17, where, you know, fentanyl and carfentanil was just hitting the streets. And oh gosh, what was that other drug that was driving people crazy for a while?
Flocka.
Yeah.
When you said crazy, I'm like, Flocka.
Yeah. Flocka hit the streets. It was nothing for my battalion to see 20 overdose calls a shift. And that's a battalion of 5 stations, but that's in a very condensed area of West Palm that, you know, the usage is very high, and it's in this geographical area. The McDonald's right here, that bathroom,
this one,
that was a reg, on the reg, on the reg. The address would come up and we'd all be like, oh yeah, we know that one.
I didn't know. I grew up here and I was a heroin addict. So I never that McDonald's. I was a different McDonald's.
Yeah. We actually pulled a couple out of there, that had their travel bags. They still had their PBI from Florida. They were from California, and they still had the tags on their carry-on bags. And they landed in West Palm, copped, went to that bathroom, both overdosed within 2 hours of being in Palm Beach County. And I'm like, I asked them, I'm like, did you just get off a plane today? And they're like, yeah, we heard the fentanyl was really good. It was killing people out here. So we came.
Oh my God.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Well, Steve, you have a story yourself in terms of substance use, and I think it definitely deserves some attention. Take us into your recovery story, what that looked like for you.
So in my late 30s, early 40s, I got sober. You know, I was, unbeknownst to me, work was taking its toll on me mentally, physically, and spiritually. And, you know, I was no wiser for it. I had no idea what was really going on, but it was taking its toll on me. And I leaned on alcohol pretty heavily, and alcohol led to cocaine. And then, you know, it's just one of those vicious cycles. The more cocaine you do, the more you're drinking, the more you drink, the more you want cocaine. And that went on for a few years, and I was a closet user. Highly functional, working 2 full-time jobs, and until I couldn't. And then slow spiral started, and I ended up getting sober. I was in and out of the rooms. I had been to a couple of meetings. A friend of mine had mentioned, hey man, I think we're drinking alcoholically. And there's this place around the corner I went to, you want to go? And it was Oasis. And I went to a couple of meetings. I was sober for 30 days here and there. I get a 30-day chip and go out and treat myself to an 8-ball, you know? It was like, hey, stayed sober for 30 days. And that went on for a little while. And then the world came crashing down when my wife at the time, my ex-wife now, found out that I was using a lot of cocaine and drinking a lot. And I ended up checking into a halfway house on Singer Island. And I stayed there for 30 days and got sober. Still was working. They allowed me to work my 24-hour shift. Full transparency, just with my immediate crew. They knew what I was going through. And actually detox, it was like 3 days later when everything kind of hit me, detoxed in a bed in a fire station. And I had 10 years of sobriety, 8 years of that working the program, 2 years as a dry drunk. And those were probably the 2 worst years.
Were those 2 years the beginning or the end?
The end.
Okay.
They were the end. My marriage was failing. I was becoming restless, irritable, and discontent. I let the steps go backwards, right? I stopped working with sponsees. I stopped praying and meditating. I stopped taking my inventory because it's so much more fun to take yours. Stopped making amends, embraced my character defects, and just literally let the steps go backwards. And I had a 20-something-year-old tell me that when I ended up on the steps of Hanley.
It's been a long time since I've heard somebody reference. I forgot about that saying, working the steps backwards. It's literally a thing.
It is. And you know, here I am, my first week at Hanley, going to a class on the 12 steps. And I had this little 20-something-year-old RA tell me exactly how I went out, and I went up to the stage and thanked her afterwards. I was like, I can't believe you just put my story into into context like that.
Mm-hmm.
And it just all makes sense. And her and I have that commonality still to this day. We talk about it. But it's true. And then that's what happened. I ended up going out. I was a tepid drinker for a little while. But as soon as cocaine came into the picture, it was off to the races right where I was before. And I'll never forget the night. I had it in really good with my dealer, and he delivered. He took credit card, ran it through the cube. Yeah, it was great.
Get out.
Awesome. And I had like 5 days off from work, and I ordered an 8-ball, and he put a half ounce in my hand. And he's like, hey, man, I know you're good for it. I just don't want to drive up here again this weekend. I know you got some time off, so you're good for it. And I looked at that half ounce in my hand, and I'm like, here I am again. I'm there.
That was after the Hanley?
No, that was before Hanley. That was before Hanley.
Okay.
That was after the halfway house and 10 years of sobriety. 10 years of sobriety. And then it was a very, very fast spiral downward within 6 months. I was missing appointments at my second job. I was missing appointments with my kids that I was supposed to be at. Work knew something was going on. Everybody tried to help me. Of course, I was the last one to know.
Mm-hmm.
But we talk about the first step, conceding to our innermost self, right? That we were alcoholic. I had literally conceded to my innermost self that this was the way it was going to be. I was going to retire from the fire department in about a year, and I was going to die shortly after. And there was a part of me that was like, okay with that, looking in the mirror in the morning. I'd wake up, go through the hack session, bloody snot rockets in the shower, and looking in the mirror, the circles under my eyes, just looking bloated and like crap. And I was like, oh, okay, this is the way it's just going to be, man. And then finally my crew, the last place that I was safe, the firehouse, I wasn't safe anymore. And my chiefs approached me and they're like, hey, man, we don't know what else to do, so piss in a cup. And I looked them right in the eyes and said, I'm going to piss dirty. It's not going to be clean. So they told me I was going to go to IOP at Hanley. So we had this guy at the fire department, worked as a liaison and getting people into treatment. And he's like, hey, man, you're going to go to Hanley. You're going to go to IOP 3 days a week. Everything's going to be cool. You'll be back on the trucks in a few months. And I showed up to Hanley sideways and on fire. Figured it was the last hurrah, right? And I had this admission specialist who was her first week on the job, looked me in the eye, and she's like, you're coming in for a 28-day stay. And they had some guy standing in the corner too, And I'm like, 28-day stay? No way. I'm here for IOP. And they're like, no. Based on your assessment, you're coming in for a 28-day stay. So, F bombs, F you, F him, F everybody, F this place, and get my guy on the phone. And he summed it up in one sentence. He goes, if that's what they're telling you and you want a job, I would recommend staying for 28 days. Click.
Yes.
Yeah.
I like that guy.
Yeah. That guy is Joel B. He's an amazing man. He has a phenomenal program, has helped thousands of people in the fire service and outside the fire service. And he, and that admission specialist that her first week when on the job, she's my boss now at Hanley.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah. It's a great story, man. It's a great story.
That's awesome.
Best boss, one of the best bosses I've ever had.
We got to get over there, Ben.
Yeah, we do.
Open invitation.
I haven't been over there in years. It's off 45th still?
Yeah.
The last time I was there, DCF was having an event there in that huge cafeteria thing.
Uh-huh.
You were with me.
Was I?
I was like,
well, I'd love to invite you for your own personal tour and invite you for lunch. Chef Tim used to cook for the Royals.
Okay.
And since the foundation's taken back the Hanley Center, our CEO is all about treating patients, their mind, their body, and their soul. So all of our food has gone organic, farm to table. The the choices of proteins are leaner, healthier. There's no soda on campus anymore. It's a sparkling flavored drink, but it's all natural.
We're coming for lunch.
Yeah, and then
Yeah.
I'd like to also invite you to our alumni weekend in February.
Okay.
We do a big barbecue. We feed 400 to 500 people. Dr. Dybin and I get the smoker, and we're outside for 36 hours smoking 100 racks of ribs, 30 brisket, 40 pork butt.
I'm in. I got to put it in my calendar as soon as we leave. And I don't put many things in my calendar. Ben can
No,
attest
Tom
to that.
puts nothing in his calendar.
That's actually-
we bicker about it every day.
That event's actually open to the public. It's
Okay.
for alumni, and alumni come from all over the world to come back for that, because we do it in February, and who doesn't want to come to Florida in February,
Yeah,
right?
it's nice.
From the north.
Yeah.
It's a great event. Live music, bring a band in. We do, Dr. Dybin and I do the meats. Chef Tim and the catering company do the sides and some other foods. And
So you have a history with barbecue?
no, I'm a man. I like to barbecue.
Good.
But Dr. Dybin and I've got a smoker on my RV, and I dabble a little bit. I'm very good with working in a kitchen. That's what I did before I was a fireman. I was a line order cook and a pizza guy. So working in the kitchen and working with food is easy for me. But no, I've never cooked for 400 or 500 people in that magnitude and sat out at a smoker for 36 hours, feeding the machine and making sure the meat temperatures are right. And I learned a lot, man. But the coolest thing was exactly what Dr. Dybin said was going to happen. Were those patients that were coming out in the middle of the night that couldn't sleep, that would walk around the walking track and sit and talk, and the ones that stayed late at night. And, lights out is 11:30, but, they know that we're out there, and Hanley was, easy about the rules. And then like the older adult unit, people coming out at like 5 o'clock in the morning, bringing us cups of coffee and sitting and chatting for 2 hours. And then the patients that wanted to help with service, as the party started ramping up, that was the coolest part of it all. It had absolutely nothing to do with the food. Food came out amazing, but it had absolutely nothing to do with the food.
Wow. That's cool. We need to do that.
Yeah.
Maybe we can bring some of our clients too.
We'll talk about it.
All right. So I want to transition into part of your story that we were talking about before, which I think we don't talk about enough. People get sober, they put down the drink, they put down the drug, and generally speaking, think that everything is going to be okay from there. That's not necessarily the case. You were substantially overweight.
Morbid obesity is what they called it.
Say that again?
Morbid obesity.
Okay.
I'm assuming this was after the cocaine.
Yes. So after when I got sober the first time, I sobered up and I put a lot of weight on. And I've always battled my weight. I've been a shapeshifter all my life. And when I got sober the first time, I put a lot of weight on. I got to about 320 pounds, and I stopped weighing myself because I was just disgusted at the weight. And a friend of mine in the fire service, who's also sober, said, "Hey, my wife's got me doing this thing called Bikram yoga. It's in a hot room. I think you should come check it out." And I did. And I did like a month's worth. I probably went like 7-8 times in a month. And I knew it was like healthy. I knew it made me feel good because it's something cathartic about being in a room that's 104 degrees at 40% humidity for 90 minutes. And, but then like my 1 month pass ran out and time went by and I never did it again. I didn't do it for probably a year or so. And it was around the holidays. And I was working at a fire station out in Belglade. I was out there for 5 years as well. And I just woke up one morning in my house feeling worse than when I went to bed and like I was going to die. Like I didn't have chest pain or anything. I just had this anxiety about me. And I don't suffer from anxiety, but I just felt like I was going to die. And I was walking around downtown at the Gardens, and a new yoga studio had opened up there. And I had my 2 daughters with me. They were young. And I walked in, and it's that classic, 5 little yoginis, all blonde haired, 100 pounds. And I walked in and they're like, "Can we help you?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I've done Bikram yoga before, but when I woke up this morning, I really felt like I was going to die. I think I need to do something." And they just wrapped their loving arms of yoga around me. And kind of like in AA, the way that we help each other, right? So they were very inspirational. They were calling me regularly. They were making sure I was showing up to yoga regularly. And the discussion of diet came up, and everybody had their opinions about what I should do. And one of the girls said, "You know what? I think you can do like a 3-day juice cleanse. I think you can handle that." Because some of these people were making like really crazy recommendations about what I should do, and I wasn't down with any of it. And I'm like, okay, I could do that. So they gave me some recipes, and I started researching some recipes. So I started making green juice, orange juice, and red juice. Red juice was beet based, orange juice was carrot based, and green juice was kale based. I drank the orange juice in the morning, the green juice throughout the day, and the beet juice at night. And 3 days turned into 60 days of nothing but
liquid.
Nothing but 4 quarts of juice a day. And my go-to cheat was maybe a teaspoon of peanut butter or a small handful of nuts at the end of the day.
Whoa.
So at that point in my life, the things that came out of my body were
foreign objects,
unspeakable. We won't even talk about them.
I was like wondering in the back of my head.
Yeah, but I actually lost about 40 pounds. I quit smoking as well at that point.
How long ago was this?
16, 17 years ago.
Okay.
I coughed up a hockey puck in the middle of a Bikram class. Literally a black.
I'm like, what does that mean?
A black chunk about that big came out of my chest.
Whoa.
Yeah. I thought I was throwing up, and ended up just like hacking, coughing, dry heaving.
Okay.
So I think in those 2 months I lost around 40 pounds. I'm sure a lot of it was just inflammation.
Mm-hmm.
And I continued to do Bikram. And in about a year, I had lost about 120 pounds, 130 pounds. I got down to 220. That was my goal. My goal was to get down to the weight that I was when I got hired at the fire department.
Now
after those 2 months, I went veganic for another 10 months.
Veganic?
Yeah. So vegan, all organic.
Oh, okay. Wow. But something changed because you said that you're on did you gain weight back?
Yeah. So then I wasn't sober and I didn't care anymore. And I put about 80 pounds back on. I got up to 300 again, 303 to be exact. And I'd gotten sober. Sorry, I've been sober 7 years. So now I'm sober about almost 6.5 years. And I started going through some stomach issues. I just wasn't feeling good. And I was seeing doctors. And a lot of it was, hey, man, change your diet. It's all revolved around your diet. So I changed my diet. And I eat healthy today. For me, there's like no one panacea. It's a big piece of the pie, right? It kind of is like part of my sobriety as well. I got to have my relationship with the God of my understanding. I have a great relationship with my wife. I go to Bikram yoga. I move more. I eat less. So all of those components kind of help me along through this process. So really, I just cleaned up my diet. I eat what's right for my stomach, and I drink some greens during the day, sip them throughout the morning. I do a form of intermittent fasting, but not purposefully. I'm just not a breakfast person. Don't get me wrong. Love a good chicken and waffles, but and I love a stack of pancakes, but just not really before noon. So I'll eat something light around noon, 1 o'clock, and dinner I eat even lighter. I eat this much food at dinner time.
What did you Do you feel like you were treating food the same way you were alcohol
Absolutely.
and cocaine?
Absolutely.
Let's dig into that a little bit.
Fill the void, man. Fill the void.
What kind of food were you eating?
Yes.
Anything.
I'm not picky, man. I love all food. I love all ethnic foods. And I especially love the food that's really bad for me. You know, who doesn't want to sit down to a huge bowl of mac and cheese? Who doesn't want to eat a whole pizza? Who doesn't want to eat a whole pound of macaroni? You know, that's what I would do. I would just eat to excess. And the funny thing is, I didn't eat a lot of junk food. Like, I'm not a drive-through junkie. I don't do fast foods very often. I do a lot of good food. So really, for me, it's about portion control.
I feel like Tom and I are the same way. We like hearty food. Like, I'm not like a candy person. Tom will tear down some Oreos, but other than that,
yeah, I am more quantity over quality.
Okay.
I'm with you. If I go to a fast food restaurant, it's maybe once a quarter.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'll roll through McDonald's or whatever and go ballistic, and I'll feel like absolute crap. And then I won't do it again for another 3-4 months, but it gets it out of my system.
Yeah. Watch Supersize Me.
Yeah. That guy recently died.
yeah.
But you know, so what I was getting at with, and I like what you said, fill the void. A lot of times when people put down the drink and the drug, if we don't fix other issues, we're just going to turn to something else. And we see people that are quote unquote sober from drugs and alcohol, but treating food the same way that they did drugs and alcohol and literally killing themselves.
Not only that, but you bring some of the habits. For instance, like when I was in Minnesota, like, dude, I spent all my money on heroin, barely covered the rent, but there was a Little Caesars a block away, and it was $5 pizzas. I would live off of that and Sour Patch Kids. But you're shooting dope, so you're not like getting overweight, but you're living off of this stuff. Then you put down the drugs and alcohol. That's why I was joking earlier about, like, was that after the cocaine? Like, because let's call it what it is. Like, a lot of people struggle with that, where you're doing drugs and you're thin.
Mm-hmm.
Like, dude, I got down to 130 pounds. Right now I'm 220 at this point. Like, huge. That's a whole person.
Yeah.
Right? Where, like, we carry a lot of those habits with us. We keep doing what we were doing, an active addiction as far as food, and then blow up. Then we're depressed. Then we're not feeling good. Because before, I had the drugs making me feel okay.
Yeah.
But now now I just feel all that garbage in my body. I can't sleep good. It's
So
lethargic.
when the drugs and alcohol, right, were out of my system, and then I got healthy, I felt like I was a step ahead of everybody in thought, motion, everything. My body was running so clean that everything was clear. I only needed about 5 hours of sleep a night. I thought I was suffering from insomnia until I figured out that I wasn't waking up tired. I was going to sleep at 10 o'clock at night, and I was waking up at 4 o'clock, 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning thinking, oh, why can't I fall asleep? And it's because I didn't need any. My body was just running as a clean machine, and I felt a step ahead of everybody. And it just felt really good.
This was the first time?
That was the first time around, and I'm getting back to that right now. You know, just, going from 300 pounds to 250 pounds, everything is just easier to do. You know, you don't have that huge thing in the way. You don't have it pushing up on your chest and your lungs and your heart. So to bend over and get on the floor and play with Mac, and then to get back up, at 56 years old, it's not as hard as it was when 50 pounds ago. I actually made a comment to my wife. We were in the RV over the weekend, and setup and breakdown are long days, right? You're driving somewhere, you're setting up the RV, the hookup, all the stuff outside, the inside has to be done. It's a lot of work. And, Florida's hot, but I didn't feel bad afterwards. And then on breakdown day, it was like, I got done breaking down. I was like, I actually feel pretty good. I'm not tired. Because I get done breaking down and I get into the RV and it's like, okay, now I got to drive 4 hours. But I was like, this is great. I felt good. So everything's just easier.
What, go ahead.
I've referenced this before, but like it makes me sad too because people get sober. There's one person in particular that comes to mind that has to this day a huge influence on my recovery. Anytime this dude shares in a meeting, like I'm like at the edge of my seat listening and hanging on to every word he says. But at the same time, it's one of those situations where like his head looks like it's about to explode from high blood pressure, smokes nonstop, doesn't eat good, just like could keel over any minute. And I'm like, man, it like because he has so much of a message. And I'm like, this guy's not going to be around to continue to carry this message. Like, and it's just sad because you want to be able to help, but it's just, man, it's messy.
It's almost the same with alcoholism, right? We know there's a solution.
Mm-hmm.
We know there's a solution, and we know what makes us feel better. You know, you and I. For you, I'm going to guess it's lifting. It's a lot of exercise, and that makes you feel better. For me, it's yoga that makes me feel better. And my hope for everyone is that, especially in sobriety, is that they find that one thing that works for them. Because what worked for me isn't going to might not work for somebody else. But there's so much out there to choose from, right? There's so many different avenues in health that you could go down to find out what it is that you like. I tried, some of the big box workouts. I tried the Orange Theory. I actually liked Orange Theory. I think I would like it more now at this weight than I would at 300. There's just a lot of really, good avenues out there that you can take. It's just a matter of getting out there and trying them and finding them.
I think too, I've never thought this part through to like express this. I think it's important too for people to, if you're on a journey looking for something that you want as far as fitness, as far as nutrition, whatever the case is, looking at whether you're somebody that's looking for fellowship out of it or somebody that wants some alone time.
Yeah.
For me, I like working out by myself because I mean, with what we do for work, AA, all that stuff, my phone's going all day, 12-step work, you name it, work for here, interventions, etc. I want to put on my headphones and be left alone in the gym. Nobody talk to me. Nobody tap me on the shoulder. Please let me do my thing. But then at the same time, I also know there's camps of people that like do CrossFit, or there's a lot of gyms like in the Del Rey area, Boynton area, that are all about sobriety. Like you show up and there's like 50, 60 people in sobriety.
That sounds awesome.
Like, and there's a fellowship with it. So I think it's really important to figure out for yourself. You mentioned yoga earlier. Yoga's like a fellowship more so.
So it isn't, when you do Bikram, you're silent. Only the teacher is talking. There's no talking during the class. It's 26 postures, 2 breathing exercises for 90 minutes in a 104-degree room. So for me, after the first breathing exercise, I'm fighting to breathe. It's literally like sucking on a hairdryer when you're trying to breathe in there.
That sounds terrible.
It is, but there's something cathartic about it. There really is. And I've said this many times. I'm never closer to God more than in that hot room. And there's no place safer than my yoga mat, because I know it's good for me, number one, right? And I am in constant communication with my higher power the entire class. So for me, it's a time for me to shut my brain off. I don't have to think. I just have to do. I don't bring a phone in with me. I stopped, like I used to have my iWatch on, and I used to track my, my health, right? My fitness. But I stopped doing that because it would go off every now and again. It would distract me. So I'm in there for 90 minutes with just me in the mirror. And for me, it's very, very, it allows me to just shut off, because I have trouble shutting the switch off. I do, especially at night.
Let me ask you this though, and I'm just curious, looking for your insight on this too, because something you said earlier was that those ladies like circled around you, or however you expressed it. So like, I feel like even though you're quiet during the class, there is a camaraderie.
Absolutely. There's a yoga community.
It's kind of like they say about meetings, and like the meeting before the meeting after the meeting. I feel like, community. Yeah,
there is community. And it's funny, that they do parallel, because there are those that come right in a minute before class, and there are those that leave 1 minute right after class, right? Just like a meeting. And there are some that show up early and they like to talk to everybody and, you know, they like to do that. I'm usually there about 10 minutes early just so I can set up and be relaxed.
Which ones stay yogi?
What's that?
Which ones stay yogi? The ones that come last minute or the ones that show up early?
Oh, I don't know, man. I don't track it. I'm just I'm just there for my own peace of mind and my own health.
Where do you go?
I go to a place in West Palm, Bikram. It's on Okeechobee Boulevard at Church Street. Hey to everybody.
We should go
there.
try it, Ben.
Oh, that's right where Fern House is.
Yeah, it's right around the corner.
No kidding.
Yeah,
Okay.
so literally on that side of Okeechobee, in the little, it's called I-95 Shopping Plaza.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So like Anita's Tacos is in there. There's a laundromat in there.
Ah, that's the plaza? I
Yeah.
love Anita's.
Yeah,
Have you been to Anita's?
Yeah.
Yes.
love Anita's Tacos.
Yeah.
But yeah, once again, come be my guest. The owner, Rosie, is a phenomenal woman. She opened up the studio just a little over a year ago. It's doing pretty good.
That'd be fun to see Ben in there.
I love,
Well, I was
I
just
love it when
about to-
bodybuilders come in, man. We have like the former studio I practiced at in the north end of the county. We'd have NFL players come in during spring training. We'd have baseball players during spring training come in. I've practiced behind tennis stars. And you know, to watch them struggle in the hot room, it's like, yeah, you know.
I was going to make a joke because earlier he was saying, "Yeah, I'm really close, right with God." I'm like, I'll literally be with God because I'll be
Yeah.
dead
Yeah.
if I do yoga.
No, you won't, man. It's
I'll
so
be shaking. And
yoga really has nothing to do with being flexible and stretchy and all that stuff. It's yoga is about a relationship with your mind, your lungs, and your heart. Right. And we say it in AA too. The worst neighborhood to be in is where the 8 inches of real estate between your ears.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same thing in the hot room because all you want to do is run. You're like, all of a sudden you're in this room for 10 minutes and you're like, what did I get myself into? I got to be in here for 90 minutes. I want out.
Do they have a shorter one?
They do. They have a 60 minute. They have a 60 minute.
I mean, shorter.
We should go. We should go and do it, Ben.
Come be my guest.
We'll get video of it, and it'll be funny
Oh man, funny for who?
for everybody. I did Bikram yoga once in California.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, at a Lifetime Fitness studio in Sacramento. This goes back, 2018, and I remember doing it, and I was like, "Holy cow!" There's something to this. It felt great. That's the only experience that I had with it. And I've done yoga, just general yoga, a couple times in the past, but yeah, I always feel better after doing it, you know. But listen, it goes back to anything is better than doing nothing, you know, whether it's yoga, whether it's Orange Theory, whether it's powerlifting, you know, bodybuilding, hiking, rock climbing, doing something to just, you know, stay active, stay busy, take your mind off of life and, you know, all the things that come with it. And I think people miss that mark in sobriety. Especially, you know, you, and I definitely want to have you back on because I want to cover a lot of and for the sake of time, we can't today, but like a lot of the first responder stuff, like what you did is extremely traumatic, and having to work in that. And I've known quite a few, people, first responders, that day in and day out, you know. As a matter of fact, just last week, you probably heard about this. The dude that grabbed the power line, I literally saw the guy laying in the median. I was watching it. He was holding it. And it was traumatic for me. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm literally watching a guy right now fry. Now, he's still alive, remarkably. I don't know how. But first responders see that day in and day out. And having to just like, boom, you're retired. And like, there's a transition there. And you have all this stuff in your, so all that to say, like, I want to definitely have you back on sooner rather than later to discuss all of that, because I think, you know, health and fitness and maybe turning to food, how, you know, you obviously use that to cope with a lot of that stuff. And like, that is what sobriety is about. Anybody can stop drinking and stop drugging. You really can.
Yeah.
But
So for first responders, they call it complex PTSD because we just keep stuff in the bag day in, day out. You know, working at a busy station every day was, You had to take a bite of that sandwich. Some days that bite was just bigger than others. On top of that, it's transitioning trauma. So we're packing up the truck at the hospital after a call, really bad call, and we're not even processing. We just want to be quiet.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been in many a silent truck on the drive back from the hospital where you're just not talking about what you just saw and what you had to do. And then the call drops for the next one. And it's another bite of the sandwich. You haven't even had time to process. And by the time the shift goes by, you may have had 2, 3, 4 of those really bad calls. And you're not even thinking about the first one anymore, but it's embedded in your brain. And some doctors will say in every fiber of your body. So that's another thing that we get to deal with, and it takes its toll on your body, physically. It takes its toll on your body.
I don't know the statistics, and we're going to wrap up after this. I know, Ben, you have to go. First responders in particular, life expectancy is shorter than the average person.
7 years after retirement. That's the national average.
How long have you been retired?
3 years.
Thank God you're doing all the things you're doing.
I'm planning on sucking the Florida retirement system dry. I want to try to get a minimum of the 30 years I put into it. I'd like to get 30%.
How old are you?
I'm 56.
Yeah, good for you, dude. And you deserve every freaking benefit that you can from it,
Thank you.
Well, Steve, listen, definitely loved having you on. And I'm dead serious. I think we need to...
Why don't we schedule it right after this?
Yeah, we'll schedule it right after this. Ben and I we'll take care of that. But in the end, dude, open invitation whenever. But we'll get it scheduled, and thanks for coming on.
Thanks. It's always an honor. I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
All right. That is it for this episode of Real Recovery Talk. Thank you for tuning in. In the end, if you have any comments, questions, or concerns, you could always reach us, info@realrecoverytalk.com. Again, that's info@realrecoverytalk.com. And ultimately, we want to help you turn your mess into your message. That is it. We will see y'all later.